So let's go ahead and start. So feet together, toes together. Just think about. So let's go through the short warm up. So knees bent, hips tucked, spine vertical. Just let the weight of your shoulders, the head go straight through the body into your feet. And bend forward. Oh, roll down. Back up. Hands on kidneys. And back to center. Bend, knees bent, hips tucked. And again. Come back up. Hands and kidneys, lean back. And again. Come back up. Back to center. Going side to side. Roll down. And gently swinging from foot to foot. And back to center. And kidneys back. And carry the tiger. Up in the chest, rotate the shoulders. Hold. Knees are bent, hips are tucked, spine nice and vertical, shoulders relaxed. Back is rounded, breath is in the belly, mind is on the breath. All right, hold. Now play the pipa. Shift, turn. Then sweep down. Then sweep back up. And bring the toes with you to the center. Shift, turn. Hold. Hold. Back to center. Horse stance. Squat. Pushing the knees apart. And squat. Toes down. Heels on the ground and then shift. And shift. Toes up. Heels on the ground. And shift. And back to center. And walk the feet in. All right. Again, this is the short warm-up. Next time we'll do the longer one, but I want to get to the second section. So again, we're going to go through each part of it, of the second section of the 13 postures, and hold the position. And then we'll do we'll actually do the 13 postures. So if we had started here, right, and we go that way for the first section, right, then we go this way, 180 degree turn, then 90 degree turn, and then 180 degree turn. So we'd be facing the rear. And then the second section turns and starts facing that way. So there's, all right, move is here, shift, and slide. And the thing to be very aware of is the link between the foot, right, and the hands. So when you're here, you're sitting down on this rear leg. It's like you're drawing something, and the hands and this left foot turn until they're pointing to the diagonal. Once you reach that diagonal, that foot stops, and then you also start shifting the weight, and then slide. Okay, so hand and feet move together. Right. So you were here, and it's here, here, and definitely one of the things you want to have is the feeling of escape. So you're sliding, right? Because something is coming towards you here. So towards your belly, and then you come here, and then this is a slide. So you shifted yourself from being, this is the point of impact, and by turning and then shifting the weight, that's in that point of impact is here and goes by you, right? So the hands are helping deflect, but the shifting of the weight from one foot to the other is what moves the body away from the point of impact, from the line of force that is coming towards you. Right, so that's the deflection, and this is where. Right, so when you're here, the hands here are essentially, so this hand is going for your opponent's elbow. Right, this is a deflection. Here, you're going to deflect the elbow, catch the elbow. But the front hand, the one that is going through space with the edge of the hand, is the part that's actually doing the deflection. Right? So there's a punch coming here. What you're doing is this. You're blocking. But you're blocking at the same time as you're shifting. Right? This is a block. And the left hand, or the front hand in this case, is control. So after you've done the block, you control. Right? So there's a two beat that's happening, right? Where you're doing this, but one hand is brushing away, the other hand is controlling. Right? So this is the block right here. This is the control, which is why the hands are facing in two different directions. Right? You're doing this because here the edge of that arm is blocking, and the palm here of the hand is controlling the elbow. But if you just do this, right, you're getting punched. This is control, but you're not moving the body. The whole idea is that you're doing this. Right? So notice here, that punch is going through. All right? That's the important part, because remember that you're facing this way. By the time you're done, you're facing this way. So there's a change in direction as well. And if you're doing it facing front, right, you can see how, because if I'm not moving my feet, all I'm doing is shifting the weight so that you still have, you're skipping this turning of the foot, but you still have the turning of the shifting of the weight going from one leg to the next. You have, right, so I'm starting just square. You have a shift in direction. I'm now pointing to the diagonal. So my opponent is in front of me, coming this way, right? But I'm now going to be this way. Right.
Okay. So the punch is going to go over here. I'm starting.
Yeah. So here we're still on the rear leg for the turn. Bring the toes in. Once the toes are here, then we shift and we slide. So there is. That's why I'm saying there's an escape, and you don't want to kind of skim over that. Right? You're literally out of the way, which is what's important afterwards. Then to yank, and the knee coming in. So let's move one step further to illustrate this even more, because so we're here. We sit down on that rear leg. We bring the hands and the front foot to the diagonal, and then we shift the weight. So now the weight is on the other leg, the left leg in this case, right? So we're here, shift, and then we're going to bring the front foot forward. Here, shift, slide the foot forward. Right? And that's so sliding the foot forward is now we're aligning ourselves, so we have a new direction. But then we're going to pick the hand and the foot, or the knee, and then we're going to do the yank and the step. So before we go, we haven't even started doing the drag down yet. This is the beginning right here, like we're just sitting ourselves up. But already right here, just with this, it's like you have to ask yourself, why are you drawing the knee up? And the answer to that also gives you a clue as to what the feeling should be of that beginning of the move, right? Because if we go back to that just demonstration of just being square and just that turn right here, right? If I pick up the foot, now you see that this is a punch, somebody comes towards me, and suddenly there's a knee. It's not a knee strike because I'm not reaching for it with the knee, but it's a drawing in, and now maybe I catch them in the gut because I've drawn them in, right? Because this is the elbow. So there's a chance of a knee strike right here. So that means that this position here has to be very solid, right? So you want to make sure that as you go through here and through here, the foot slides forward, and then you raise the knee up. That here, the knee is bent, hips are tucked, right? And you feel solid right here. Like you could push with the front of that foot, of that knee. And it's easier if you have a partner who can actually put a little bit of pressure on that knee. But one of the mistakes that's often made is that we come here, and then when the knee picks up, right? When the knee picks up, we also straighten that back leg and become very tall. As opposed to going from here, the knee picks up and we're actually solid. And the rear leg, the supporting leg, is actually slightly bent because you still want to be grounded. So it's not rising up, right? It's not rising up and straightening that supporting leg. It's actually from here, it's picking up the knee, and the supporting leg is still bent, hips are still tucked, and you're planted. Okay. Of course, thing to remember.
Question on the turn.
Yeah, that's the kind of quality you want, depending on what your purpose is as you do the form. If you're doing it because you just want to really get the energy flowing and you just want to be super relaxed, then, right, you're not necessarily going to be quite as planted as if you were doing it just for the applications, right? So this is the hardest, if that's the most concrete shapes that we have in order to be correct for the application, right? And it's actually a very, it's low, it's planted. The caveat is always that then it's up to you to soften that as you do it. We should start from the knowledge that this posture here is supposed to be very planted, right? Very grounded in that rear leg. Don't just rise up and feel uplifted. It's actually the opposite. It's grounded in that rear leg, okay? And then as you do the form for yourself, make the choice. You can, make it lighter if what you're looking for is that feeling of the energy rising and moving. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right. So, but in terms of the applications, it's here, here, and now we're going to plant. So the important part here, we're here, we're going to go even lower, because this is the drag down, this is the pluck is here. So we're going to go even lower, straight down, and because we're lower, the next step is bigger, and then we push. And the big thing is, the one thing we don't want to do is actually that. The push is here, right here, and it ends right there. It's the same thing as before. You don't want to think too much of rising up. You want to think of pushing along the horizontal, right? It's not up here, it's here. And it can stop right here because the power is expressed here. That's it. Anything beyond this point, if my hand is beyond my knee, I'm not pushing anymore. So the real power generation of this push, this is a push right here, ends here. That's it. You don't have to go any further than that. What it should feel like is that you're really pushing using the inside of the thighs, right? It's a why that's actually opening up. That's the feeling that you want. That's why it's not pushing far or rising up. Because if you notice, if you rise up, right, what you're doing is you're actually closing the hips. They become more of a pointy pyramid. What we want is the roundedness of the whole, right? So you're here, and you're opening. You should feel. And the one thing I've been told over and over again, this is, if you're here, if you were to keep pushing, what should happen actually is that your rear foot would pivot so that now you're here so you can go lower, right? So that's the kind of tension that you should have in that rear leg when you're pushing. It's like, oh, my foot wants to turn and pivot, right? Instead of rising up, it should feel like a horizontal force, not a vertical force. Okay.
How much weight turn is there? Any or just?
Say that again.
How much waist turn is there in?
There's not that much, mostly because there's not that much traveling that's done. So my knee and foot are pointing in the same direction. So my hips are not actually going to turn. It's actually pretty locked, because again, big step, but small travel. And the reason for that is in the application. The thing to remember is somebody's punching you and you have their elbow, so their elbow's right here. So that means their body is right. If I'm here and this is their elbow, so their body's no further than this. So when I'm here, my foot is already in their space. I'm going to come here. I'm going to go step deeper into their space and push. Look at where my hand is. This is where their elbow is. So the body's right here. I'm stepping into their space and pushing. And the thing to try to remember is that that big step is a way of placing your foot behind their leg. So what you're really doing is you're tripping them. Right? So you've stepped deep into their space, and now you're going to push them, and they're going to trip over that front leg. So that's why pushing past your knee is pointless, because they're already falling. Right? So drag down is really drawing somebody in, stepping deep into their space, and then right? It's a short, sharp push. It's closer to a press than a push, in the sense that you're not going, whoo, you know, it's not a far push, it's more of a, right? And you can see now that in this space, if I'm here and I've brought my foot into their space, and I manage to place it on the other side of the other guy's leg, and I go, that trips them and they fall. That's the idea. So it's more of a press energy than a push energy, in the sense that it's heavy, rounded, and sharp. Right? You're pushing them after you've dropped them, after you've broken their balance, which is why you don't have to have a lot of long energy, right? Because you've broken their balance here, and then here. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So this is the application. If you soften it, you can still have this kind of, it's nice and flowy, but even here, but the important part here is that you just expand to here, but that the feeling stays here in the waist, as opposed to doing this, in which case the feeling becomes in the hand and the waist disappears, because you're rising up, right? So then all the energy goes upwards instead of going here. Energy is actually the expansion of the waist, the expansion of the hips, right? It's the hua that stays.
And I like approaching it from the martial part first, because you can always soften.
Exactly.
But learn it soft, you can't probably imagine martial parts.
Exactly. If you learn it soft, sometimes there's certain details that then become blurry. So for example, here the detail is that the energy stays down here into the waist, right? And that the push is secondary in a way, or short. And if you just do it soft and then you forget that it's there, and then automatically you think, well, my hands are moving forward, so the energy is in my hand is forward and up, but it's not. The energy is right here, and it's the waist. You can feel, especially like if you think of this hand is still controlling the elbow, you're not pushing somebody over there, right? The guy's right here against you, so this can be just, that's it, right? And notice my hand doesn't move through in relationship to my body. It's my body itself that does the push, not necessarily the arms.
There's an interesting energy that comes out of that.
Yep.
That two-directional force. It's kind of joins and pops.
Yep. And this is why the very next move is brush knee. Because we have here a demonstration of low and short. And the very next move is brush knee, long. And here, it is the arms that become dominant. It is the arms that are doing the work in brush knee. So we have this contrast of drag down, right, which is short. It's close to the body. It's the waist that's doing all the work, right? It's that turning of the waist here, like this, drawn. The hands are very close, right? Drag down is done with the hands close to the body. And it's the body weight that's doing the work of the pull down, not the hands. And then push, so it's all very much here, very rounded. And now from here, we do here. And suddenly it is up. And we look back, and it's the hands that are turning, it's the hands that are guiding the motion. And we take a big step, but it's not the leg that's going to do the work. it's going to be that front arm doing a brush knee. This is the active part. The arm is the one that's actually trapping the opponent's knee, turn, and then push. And then there's very much a push with the other hand. So we have a study in contrast in that sense, right? Which is why you don't want to muddle and be too much in the middle in terms energetically. Because if you're too much in the middle, then you miss the highs and lows that we have in the second section. You want to have the low so that now you can have the high. Does that make sense?
Yep.
All right. So we go from waist, right? So the waist doing the work to the hands doing the work. So it's an expansion of the range in that sense. So let's take a look at play the pipa. So we're over here. I mean, not play the pipa, brush knee. Right? So now it's a full rising, let's see, yeah, over here. Full rising on that back leg, hands circle, and you look back, and then you look front, and then you sit. Big step slightly to the side, brush, so my weight is on the rear leg so my left leg, in this case the rear leg, is pushing, and my right arm is brushing. So this is a ward off. And then shift, turn, strike with the left palm. So one little detail, here we look back, and then we look front. So where you look guides the direction of the energy, right? So this is a hint that the very first thing that we do is this. The hands go circle, right? And we look back, which means that could be the end of the move, right? This is somebody coming towards us, and we brush and send them through. So this is the ultimate rollback, if anything. It's the rollback that has the most back energy, because we even look backwards, because the idea is they come rushing towards us and we send them right through. All right? We're sending all the energy back, which is why there's a choice, there's an intent in looking back and then looking forward. Maybe we tried to send them back, but it didn't quite work. Right? They're still standing. They caught themselves at the last minute. So now we're going to go for them and attack. But the first feeling here, after this heavy, pushing here, the first thing we do is send them through, all the way back. Right? And in your own mind, you can have different images if you want. This can simply be a deflection right here, right? So there's a punch and you simply deflect and you send it over there. There's also, this can be a hook under the guy's armpit, right? So you're actually deflecting, hook, and lift and send. All right, so you're picking something and they're tossing this way. Okay? Whatever works best in your head, the important part is this fully back and now fully forward. So and it's just in the head, it's just in the eyes. The eyes look back, now we look front. All right, so there's a shift all the way back, look front. Now we're gonna go. Now we're gonna take a big step. But it's not a step just forward, the step is also slightly to the side. Right? So it's forward and slightly to the side for brush knee. Right? And the slightly to the side is because, again, we're going to go for the other guy's leg. So we want to trap it between our foot and our hand. So depending on where the other guy's foot is, we're here. We're gonna go fishing for that foot. All right, we're gonna go fishing. So his foot needs to be right here, right next to my own foot, which is why you don't just go straight in. You're going to go slightly to the side, fish for that leg, because then I'm going to push his knee, and his foot is going to be caught against my foot, and that's where the leg lock is you're trapping, because then his foot can't move because it's against, and then you're pushing the guy's knee off, and then he's going to fall. All right, that's what it is. So we've gone back, forward, step, big step to the side. We're still pushing up that rear leg all the way to here. We're still pushing with that rear leg, and then turn, and then push. And we push with the left hand because now the weight is on the right leg. So the push comes out of the, from the shift of the weight. So it's the shift of the weight that gives the energy to the hand that's actually doing the push. It's not the hand leading, it's the hips. Yeah, right? So here, my hand is here, remains the same position. Relationship to my body, it's turning the hips, bringing that foot in, that propels the hand forward. And I only add a little bit of power at the very end. But otherwise, it's right here. Which is why, one thing to notice is that when we do rushing, this rear hand is traveling in a straight line. So this hand is doing a circle, and then a circle, right? It's actually doing this. All you're doing is this with the front hand. But because you're turning your body at the same time, it turns from a vertical to a horizontal circle. Right, so you're doing this, 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 this. The rear hand, though, once it's here, shoulder height, it's doing a straight line all the way through. Right? So there's actually no turn in that rear hand. Once you've done here, now this is a straight line all the way through. So you can, if you tie it all together, you can see actually how much power and momentum there is in that move if you do it fast. Because if you come from here, it's right? Right? It becomes this shift forward. The whole body is shot forward, and you're brushing the guy's knee as you move forward. And so you're diving into the guy's space while knocking his leg off and pushing. Right? If you start doing it a little fast, that's when you start to feel the momentum that's behind this, and there's a lot of power there. So it's like a full body, it's like a body block. You just full body shot into the opponent's body. Okay, so let's wrap it up. We'll take a look at Play the Pipa next time because it's worth it. We'll tie Play the Pipa to a move in the first section, in the first Duan, because it's quite a lot of fun. So let's, just to cool off, all right, let's do Celestial Tiger. Because we've moved energy, so let's bring it back into the body. So here, and we're going to do this 3 times. So first take a moment to just let the energy just fall from head to shoulders, down the spine, through the hips, into the feet. Just let all of that drop. It's going to be refilled with heavenly energy coming from the crown of the head every time you breathe. Drawing in energy. And raise the arms. Draw from the earth. Palms up. Draw from the heavens. Now, pointing the fingers forward, squeezing the chest. Exhale. Now rounding the hands, rounding the arms. Pointing up. Dropping the arms. Opening the chest so the chest is pointed to the heavens. Reaching back. Scooping around the kidneys and down. Rising up. And the hands cross the heart. Exhale. And drop the hands. And the hands cross the heart. Exhale. And again. Palms up. Fingers pointing. And reach back. One more time. Place your hands on your belly. And feet together. Let's take a bow. All right. So this doesn't look like traditional Tai Chi. We're doing it very kind of, but learning the basics, learning the applications so that then you can soften everything up. All right. Excellent.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Love it. Feel like my whole body's breathing.
It's good. All right. All right. Bye, everybody. And hiddentaichi.com for more. Again, this doesn't look like traditional Tai Chi because I like to make sure that the application and the basics are known so that you can then go from that place which is slightly rigid to then soften it But if you start with soft, then there's a lot of details that are often lost, which is not a good thing, right? So here we're making sure that the application is there from the beginning. So then when you soften, you can soften with consciousness of it. You can soften it with intent. So you go, yes, I know that this is not exactly correct, but I'm going for the feel of energy, of openness in the joints. And now I can go through and do all of it. And then it can look slightly different when you do it nice and soft. But at least in your own head, you know where you are making the choice of softening it. And you know what shifts you've done. And then you can also start looking for the same feelings, but in a softer stance, right? So you can still go for example, in drag down, you can still go for that heavy, but instead of being heavy in the hips because you're doing these deep lunges, you can do the same higher lunges in a way, right? You don't have to go as deep, but you're still looking for that sinking energy, that push that comes from the waist instead of coming from the hands. Right, so that's why we're doing this. So it feels different. It's not the regular Tai Chi, but that's on purpose. Okay, hiddentaichi.com if you want more. YouTube, you're already on YouTube. Ciao.